Do you like religion? Do you like painfully slogging through monotonous dialogue, only to zone out like a child with ADHD? Do you like philosophizing over moral ambiguity? Not only will you wonder why anyone would want to be silent with God, but if it's okay to cut someone's face off and serve an ancient deity. Then you should play Saint Kotar. Puzzles are few and far between, and you're mostly working with different dialogue outcomes that even then are few and far between. So yes, you're talking a lot, which is what I expected, but not with such little impact on the story.
Nikolai?
Anytime that some physicality is meant to happen between characters or an action takes place, the screen goes black. Less than a handful of times actual individual animations are done. I understand limitations, but this was made on the Unity engine, one of the easiest tools for any startup dev. If I could guess, it would be a slightly modified version, or that a combo of Unity assets and in-house assets created hurdles too large to overcome.
Why?
Please, do as I say. I'll get to the point.
Looking at the PC version and the console version, a lot of quality of life changes were made. For example, some voice actors had been replaced as to not break immersion, as some of the voice actors in the original release sound like English was their second language, and not in a good way. The themes of religion are so well written, and it asks a lot of the player in terms of character perspective, and how the characters change over time throughout the story is and was the most interesting part of my experience with Saint Kotar. The game's dialogue with the player is openly talking about different perspectives on how one upholds their beliefs in God, and how easy it is to give up on God even in the face of extreme depravity. This is flipped on its head with its twisted endings, and a lot of interpretation is needed. There is a sure thing to take away, but it was abstract, which will turn some people off, but ultimately this isn't for everyone, which I like a lot. Daring to be different is seen so little of these days. Crimes against God, crimes against humanity. The game creates a great contrast between the characters, and those two statements are what they are. Would you rather walk away from your faith if anything was to happen to your loved ones? Something unspeakable, that is. Again, on the surface, this is what is being presented. This is what I thought the contrast between the two characters were, until the ending. But the characters themselves, Benedict is a monk of the Catholic Church. Being silent with God is the closest one can be to God outside of being the Pope. Nikolai was following the path, but married and chose to be with God, but in two households. One can never proceed to full priesthood under the strict rules of the Catholic Church if one is to marry. Both Benedict and Nikolai have traumatic upbringings, and these traumas are interwoven into the narrative seamlessly. That's putting it quite openly, as there is more layers to it than that, but a brief overview will help within the bounds of this discussion and review. But the story itself, you end up in Saint Kotar as Benedict, his sister Victoria, and her husband Nikolai. Victoria has invited you to show you to the town and also go to a viewing of an old castle there. Benedict hadn't seen his sister in a long time after their father had disappeared, as Benedict believed she had given up on her faith and followed the path of her aunt, which was allegedly involved in witchcraft. Growing up, Victoria and Benedict's father was extremely overbearingly religious and made them isolate from everyone. Benedict never moved on from his faith and chose what his father wanted for him, and that was to be silent with God, a monk of the Catholic Church. All this is presented at the beginning of the game, and it's an interesting premise. The story is what kept me here. Uncovering the story and the strange people around Saint Kotar was charming and sounded beautiful. The soundtrack made it feel warm to play, like a 90s point-and-click adventure. The endings are superb, and the game didn't hold any punches on its brutality. For point of reference, it reminded me a lot of Darren Aronofsky's film's Mother, with one of its endings.
Cursed. It's not a fairy tale.
I think I've found the entrance. Follow me. I'm going in.
God, where? Into the water?
Just do as I say.
The imagery is fantastic, and a lot of care and love has been placed within this game. I highly recommend it, but wait for a sale, as I know some people will not be able to grin and bear the amount of dialogue that's put on screen. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more, and let me know your thoughts down below.